I decided to record an episode today that is a reminder to myself of something I keep missing. When I work with couples, they're often surprised that my husband and I have problems. And then I remind them I am human, and have they met me? Don't I seem like probably I would bring some things to the table that might be a little spicy for a partner to have to deal with? And they always laugh at me, but I say, yeah, I am really human. And actually, there's key things that you guys share in our sessions that my husband and I go through too, because it's actually quite normal. And as I remind all of us, normal does not mean healthy, but it is something that many people go through. Well, this one in particular, I bet many of you know this. It's clutter blindness or inattentional blindness. Basically, when your partner doesn't see the projects or mess that's around, or just don't see it as a problem. And for you, it's so annoying and aggravating, and you just see them constantly leaving a trail behind them. Guys, I'm that person. My husband's going to laugh as he listens to this. I am totally that person who will make myself a sandwich and leave everything out. I am that person who puts my bags down at the front entrance and then walks away and forgets they're even there. I am that person. So I am going to do this episode today from that person's point of view, as well as teaching what can we do as a couple to be more aware of these things, and what are some things that we need to be more aware of that are happening in this dynamic. So go grab a warm drink and I bet a paper and pen, and let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Reset, a podcast for high-achieving couples who've been together for over a decade and don't want to feel like roommates anymore. I'm Katie Russler, relationship strategist and couples counselor with almost 20 years of experience helping ambitious couples reconnect, strengthen communication, and turn their relationship into the best part of their success story. This podcast is about using practical tools and a lot of real talk to help you understand your patterns, stop feeling stuck and discouraged, and start working on your relationship in ways that actually fit your busy life. Because your relationship shouldn't be the cost of your success, it should be the best part of it. So let's dive in. Okay. When was the last time you actually saw that pile of paperwork that's right there on that kitchen counter and actually noticed it? Actually saw it. Has it been there for a week, 2, maybe 3? Has it gotten bigger? Have you even noticed if it's gotten bigger? There might be even a bill in there that you've forgotten because it's there and your brain has just been like, that exists. That's supposed to be there. And because it's been there for so long, I'm now blind to it being an issue. If you can't remember how long that pile's been there, don't worry. It's actually a documented psychological phenomenon and it has a name. And today I want to teach it to you because, again, I have this problem too. It's called inattentional blindness, and it's a cousin of clutter blindness. And by the end of today, I'm going to make sure that you understand why you stopped seeing what was going on in your home, or your partner stopped seeing it. And more importantly, how we make sure this doesn't become about us not seeing our partner and what they need, as well as trying to keep a home that we're both happy to be in. So here's one of those stories that makes me laugh as I think about it. And this is a couple I worked with a really long time ago. But as I told it, I was thinking in the back of my head, oh my gosh, this is me, this is me, this is me. But the wife said, we live in a house that looks like nobody lives here. Who cares? Everything's just left out. It's a mess. There's a stack of boxes still in the hallway that had been there since they'd moved in, which had just been almost a year. And her husband just kept walking past those boxes every single day and just didn't notice them or do anything. It's not that he chose to ignore it, though. He just didn't really see them. And for her, she found this almost impossible to believe. How do you not see a stack of boxes in your own hallway? So here's the part of the story that actually brought them to seeing me. It wasn't the boxes, of course. It was when the wife told the husband in a really difficult conversation that she'd been trying to reconnect with him for months, trying to feel that connection again through small things, through texting him during the day or leaving a note here and there, really words of affirmation, right? Initiating a hug when he was walking in the door, so physical touch. And her husband was genuinely stunned and said, I didn't even really notice you were doing any of that. Well, one part of this is it's probably not his love languages, but the second part of it is he had started having this sort of inattentional blindness towards her too. See, she wasn't lying about the actions she was doing, and he wasn't lying about really not noticing them. Both things were true. She was reaching towards him, and he genuinely wasn't seeing it. And once I explained why, this stopped being a fight about who cared more, and it became something we could actually work with. What struck me in that session was watching the husband's face change. He wasn't relieved because he was off the hook. It wasn't see, I told you. He was actually more upset once he understood it because I didn't notice felt worse to him than I chose not to respond, right? Geez, what's wrong with me that I couldn't even see she was showing me love? But his wife told me afterward that something was able to shift for her too, because she had spent months building up this story in her head that he didn't care anymore, that he was like checking out. And once she was able to understand, this wasn't a caring problem, right? This wasn't about love. It was an attention problem. She stopped rehearsing the case and got curious about the fix instead. And being able to understand an attention problem versus a caring problem is like the whole hinge of this episode. So let's get into the research of this. Okay. What is inattentional blindness actually? In 1999, two psychologists, Christopher Chabris and Daniel Simmons, ran an experiment that's become famous. You maybe remember it from school. They showed people a video of students passing a basketball and asked them to count the passes. And the thing is, the students were walking around in a circle as they were passing this basketball. Halfway through this video, a person in a full gorilla costume walks directly through the middle of the group, thumps their chest, and walks off. So again, the people watching the video are supposed to count how many passes are being made during the video. Then a gorilla, or a person in a gorilla costume, walks into the middle, thumps their chest, walks away, right? Okay, so we've got this image. And again, if you've watched the video, you know it. You remember it now. How many people do you think actually noticed the gorilla? Just take a guess. Okay, about half the people who are watching and who are so focused on counting passes never see the gorilla. I'm not joking. Not because their eyes didn't register it, let's be clear, because their brain focused on counting passes and it filtered it out as irrelevant. Even a gorilla. That's inattentional blindness. Your eyes can be pointed directly at something and your brain simply doesn't process it because your attention is allocated somewhere else. It's not a problem with your eyes. It's a feature of how attention works. Your brain cannot consciously process everything in your field all at once. So it filters constantly based on what it decides matters right now. So this is just like what I shared about the sandwich making, right? Like my end goal is eat my lunch. And so I'm just going through and making my lunch, and I'm not seeing along the way all of the things I've left unattended on the counter that I probably won't see later when I put the dish in the dishwasher. At least that happens, right? Because it's no longer part of the goal. The goal is eat the sandwich, put away the dish, go do the next thing. I don't see the gorillas in the room sometimes. So let's talk about now clutter blindness, because it's the same mechanism, but it's running on like a longer clock, okay? This is what happens when something stays in your environment long enough that your brain kind of reclassifies it from new information to background, right? It's like that background music. You're like, I didn't even realize it was there. The first day those boxes were in that couple's hallway, the husband saw them clearly. By day 4 or 5, his brain had filed them under wallpaper. Not because he stopped caring about the house, because that's what perpetual systems do with anything that doesn't change and doesn't move. Have you ever noticed this happen with the actual physical clutter in your home? Like you have a friend come over and they go and sit in a little spot that you hadn't really attended to, and you're like, oh my God, it's so dusty there. Look at all the pile of stuff. You just didn't even notice it anymore because it just, again, it became like wallpaper. Do you remember how I shared with you that couple? Like, yes, they were talking about boxes, but what really brought them in was, hey, I've been showing you love. And the husband's like, I didn't even notice it. So let's look at how this inattentional blindness and even, let's be honest, clutter blindness can get translated into our relationship. And not just because we're annoyed that our partner doesn't see the projects. And honey, I'm so sorry. I know I do this. So everything I just described about boxes in a hallway happens to bids for connection too. You know, I love to talk about the Gottmans, and one of the things that they do research on is called the bids for connection. At a glance, it's like a comment, a small reach towards your partner. And they found that couples who stay closely connected turn towards those bids the vast majority of the time. So like, oh my gosh, honey, I watched this really funny video the other day, and you continue to talk about it. And your partner actually listens to what you say and goes, oh, that is interesting. Or your partner starts to share with you something that they read in an article or something that happened at work. And instead of you continuing to scroll on your phone, you stop and you actually pay attention. So they found that the couples who stay closely connected turn towards those bids, right? And the couples who drift apart turn toward them far less. But here's what I think the research doesn't say loudly enough. A lot of turning away isn't rejection, it's actually inattentional blindness. The bid genuinely didn't register. And it gets worse the longer you're together, not better, because repetition is exactly what produces clutter blindness. The first year you were together, every text from your partner lit you up, right? Your whole nervous system was like, yes. By year 12, your brain has filed text from partner under background noise, the same way it filed the boxes in the hallway, right? Not because the relationship matters less, and that's something we need to really acknowledge, but because your attention system does this thing to everything on a loop forever, unless you deliberately interrupt it. I talk with you guys all the time about how we have to get out of autopilot and be more intentional, and it's because of this. And I want to speak directly to the high achievers listening because this pattern hits you the hardest. Your attention is a finite resource, and you have spent all day directing it with tremendous discipline toward deadlines and decisions and other people's problems. By the time you're home, your selective attention is exhausted. And exhausted attention filters a lot harder, not softer. So the person who is the most competent at focusing all day is often the person least able to notice a hand reaching for theirs at 8 p.m. Please hear me. It's not about how much you love your partner. That's just your cognitive load. And we might even see this happen in your intimacy and desire for each other, right? Desire needs a bit of mystery, a little excitement, something to actually look at rather than just assume. I think that's the same mechanism we're talking about here. It's just showing up in your bedroom. You stop seeing your partner clearly for the same reason you stop seeing the boxes or that pile of mail. Familiarity tells your brain there's nothing new here to process, so it stops looking, kind of stops being interested. The good news buried in that is this isn't really about effort or love running out. It's a perpetual habit, and perpetual habits can be interrupted on purpose, which is a much more solvable problem than we fell out of love. There's one more layer here before I give you your practical tips, and it's the one that actually brings couples to me. It's not just that we stop seeing our partner's bids for connection, we also stop seeing the small pile of hurt feelings, unspoken resentments, and unmet needs building up in the corner of the relationship. The same way the husband stops seeing the boxes. Each individual thing is small enough to file under background noise. The forgotten anniversary comment, the eye roll you let go, the time you needed to be asked how your day was and weren't. None of them alone trip an alarm, but they're not gone. They're accumulating in a hallway you both stopped looking at until one day the pile is so large, neither of you can pretend it isn't there. And it comes out sideways, right? Over something that looks on the surface disproportionately small. The dishwasher, the laundry, the date night that wasn't planned. Okay, so how do you actually interrupt a filtering system that's designed to run in the background without your permission? There are 3 things, okay? Number 1, and this is your try it today tip. Tonight, do what I call the fresh eyes walk. Literally walk out your front door, wait 30 seconds, and you're doing this together, walk back in as if you were a guest seeing your home for the first time. Notice what you'd notice if you didn't live there. You will see things you have not seen in weeks. And this resets your visual filter. And it's the fastest, low-effort proof that your brain has been editing your environment without telling you. It's so funny to listen to partners go, oh yeah, oh that is over there. Oh gosh, I left that there 3 weeks ago. You're like, yes, because you finally go to your brain, okay, it's time to pay attention. Number 2, borrow that same reset for your partner. Once this week, I want you to actually schedule it. Spend 2 full minutes looking at your partner while they talk. No phone, no task in the background, and ask yourself what you'd notice about them if you were meeting them for the first time. What are they carrying that you've stopped clocking in because it's been there so long? Is there tiredness around their eyes you filed under normal months ago? A new habit, a new worry, a new way they light up when they talk about something? You're not looking for a problem to solve. You're just practicing seeing them. Number 3, do a relational clutter check together. This is a version of a communication audit that I use in my 90-day communication reset. Each of you separately writes down one small thing that's been sitting unspoken in the corner. Not a huge grievance, people. The small stuff. The stuff that's easy to file under not worth mentioning. Maybe it's a comment that stung 3 weeks ago, or a need you never actually said out loud. Then trade, right? One of you shares, then the other one shares. The goal isn't to solve it in the conversation. The goal is just to prove to each other that you're willing to see the things going on rather than keep stepping over the pile and acting like it's not there. Couples who do this monthly tell me that the pile never gets big enough to trip on in the first place, right? Because they're always kind of making sure that they're discussing those small things instead of letting them get really big. So again, you're going to do that fresh eyes walk. You're going to give 2 undistracted minutes where you really look at your partner and pay attention. And you're going to trade with each other one piece of relational clutter just by saying it out loud so it doesn't keep building up. I'm saying this to myself, to my partner, and to all of you. You're not failing to see the projects in the house or the clutter or your partner because you don't care. You're failing to see them because that's what attention does to anything familiar, whether it's a stack of boxes or a bid for connection, unless you deliberately interrupt it. Of course, the good news is the interruption is simple. It's a fresh eyes walk. It's 2 minutes of undistracted looking and a willingness to check the corner before the pile gets too big to step around. None of this requires you to manufacture more love. It just requires you to look on purpose at something your brain has quietly decided isn't worth looking at anymore. And again, your brain's not looking through the lens of love, it's looking through the lens of efficiency because it's exhausted. If you and your partner realize you both have been living in a hallway full of things neither of you can see anymore, that's exactly the work we do together on the relationship game plan call. It's free, it's about 45 minutes, and we'll map out where your specific kind of clutter, in quotations, has built up and what to do about it. You can schedule a time at the link in the show notes. And if you're interested in continuing to work on your communication, the next round of the 90-day communication reset starts in September. When you schedule your relationship game plan call, you can share with me you'd like to learn more about it, and I'll share with you all the details, and we'll see if it's the right fit for you. Okay, my challenge to you this week is just the fresh eyes walk. Like it would be great if you did all 3, but let's just start with that. One time, walk out, take a pause, walk back in, and actually look at your space. You might see it the way your partner has been bugging you about it. And once you do this activity, I want you to tell me what you saw. Find me on Instagram at katie.rustler. I'd love to hear what you actually saw, and if it surprised you from what you thought was happening in your home to what the reality is. Good luck with the walkthrough, and I'll see you next week. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. The effort you put into your relationship is one of the most important investments you'll ever make. How you communicate and grow together shapes your home, your leadership, and the example you set for the people around you. Relationship work is truly legacy work, and it quietly impacts more lives than we often realize. If this episode resonated, consider sharing it with someone you care about, a partner, a friend, or another couple who's building a full life and want their relationship to be the best part of it too. And if you're enjoying these conversations, make sure to follow or subscribe to Relationship Reset. Leaving a rating or review also helps this message reach more couples who are ready to grow with intention. I'll see you next week.